Good morning Year 5 and welcome to another maths lesson. So today we're going to be moving on to division. And before we do that, I want you to pause this video and write the date and the LO in your maths book. So the date is the 19th of the 1st, 21, and the learning outcome is divide 2 digits by 1 digit. Okay, and when we start any new unit, we look at the vocabulary needed to understand division. Okay, so on the screen I have some different words and I want you to pause the video and think about the meaning and the definitions of each of these words that we're going to need to look at. So pause the video and have a look at the words on the board. Okay, so you may be familiar with some of these words, but we're just going to look at the definitions to help us with our division. So firstly, we have equal groups. So an equal group is when all of the groups have the same amount of something. So for example, if I shared 6 sweets equally between 3 people, they would all have 2 each. So the sweets have been shared into equal groups, okay? Okay, share. So when we share, we distribute something into equal groups. Okay, now we're going to look at the words leftover. So when something is left over, it's what cannot be divided into equal groups. So for example, if I divided 7 sweets equally between 3 people, everyone would have 2 each and there would be 1 left over. There is 1 that can be not shared equally. Okay, now we're going to have a look at the word divide. So when we divide, we split something up into equal groups. Okay, so we often exchange in maths to help us make the calculation work. So for example, we could exchange a 10 for 10 ones so we can continue with our calculation and share our number equally. Okay, so you might be used to partitioning as well, because we did that in the multiplication unit. When we partition, we break down the calculation. So for example, I could partition 82 into 80 and 2, so I can see what I need to do to each number to work out the calculation. Okay, and lastly we have remaining. So quite similar to leftover, what is remaining is what is left over. It is something that cannot fit into equal groups. So like we said, with the 7 sweets, there would be 1 left over when they've been divided by 3 people. Okay, so I hope that helps you and you know now what these words mean, so we can move on and start our division. Okay, so if you remember when we did multiplication, we had our multiplicand, multiplier and our product. And I have some similar vocabulary to describe division. So we're just going to have a look at these and then I want you to have a go at labelling what each part of the division is called. So, our new vocabulary this unit is dividend, divisor and quotient. So if you have a look at this division calculation here, our 20 is our dividend because it's the number that's being divided. Our 4 is our divisor because it's what 20 is being divided by. And 5 is our quotient because 5 is our answer to 20 divided by 4. So I just want you to take a look at that before I get rid of it, and then you're going to label this division calculation here. Okay, so dividend, divisor and quotient. So I've got them here, so you've got the spelling, and what I want you to do in your maths book is label each of these numbers with the correct vocabulary. So we've got our dividend, our divisor and our quotient. So just pause the video and label 30, 5 and 6 using this vocabulary here with what I've just taught you. Okay, well done for having a go at that. Let's see if you remembered what we talked about. So 30 is our dividend, 5 is our divisor and 6 is our quotient. So well done if you got that correct, everyone. Okay, so like last time, I'd like you to try and use this vocabulary when you do your work in your books. So when you write your answer or explain your reasoning, try and use these new words to help you. Okay, class 5, so now we're going to begin our step 1 input. And I'd just like to mention that if you do have some counters, it might be helpful for you to use them during this input, but don't worry if not, because I'll show you how we do it anyway, and you can draw it in your books. But if you do have some, that might help you with doing this part of the input. Okay, so I've got a question on the board for us to look at. If I wanted to divide 36 by 3, how would I arrange my counters into equal groups using these circles here? So how can I divide 36, which I've got here, into 3 equal groups using my counters? So what you could do now is you could either just have a think about it, or you could draw how you would divide 36 by 3 into 3 equal groups. So just pause the video and think about how we could do this calculation with our counters, okay? Okay, so I'm now going to model how we'd use these counters to divide 36 by 3. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with my tens so I can divide them, and then I know my tens are done. So let's drag them into our group. So I've got one 10 here, another 10 here, and another 10 here. So now I've divided my tens into 3 equal groups because they have 1 10 in each group. Okay, and now onto the ones. So I'm going to do the same method this time. So 1 in there, 1 here, 1 here, and repeat that process. Okay, so as you can see, my groups are looking equal because I have 1 10 and 2 ones in each of my groups. So to find our answer, we need to just look at one of our groups because they've been divided into 3. So we have 1 10 and 2 ones, which is 12. So we now know 36 divided by 3 is 12. Okay? Okay, we're going to do the same this time, but using a place value chart. So if I wanted to divide 66 by 3, how could I arrange these counters into my chart? So remember, they need to be in 3 equal groups and be 66 divided by 3. I've got my 66 here. So again, could you pause the video and either do this in your head using some counters or drawing this in your maths book? So we're dividing 66 by 3 using our counters. Okay, and now I'm going to use the same method as before to show you how we'd find our answer. So I'm going to start with my tens again and divide those equally into 3 groups. So I've got 1 2 3, 1 2 3. So my tens have been divided into 3 equal groups, and we have 2 tens in each group. Okay, now onto our ones. So I've got 1 2 3, 1 2 and 3. So again, I've got 3 equal groups of 1, and there's 2 ones in each group. So now to find our answer, we need to look at one row. So in our row here, we have 2 tens and 2 ones, which is 22. So 66 divided by 3 is 22. So well done if you got that correct, year 5. And if you didn't, have a look at where you went wrong. Okay, year 5, so now we've looked at the step 1 input. You've got some similar questions on step 1 of the worksheet for you to complete in your maths book. And I would like us all to complete step 1 because this is a new unit, okay? So pause the video and complete those in your book now. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the step 2 input. And if you remember from our multiplication unit, we used partitioning to calculate some big sums. So we break down our number to know what to calculate each number by. So here I've got 84 and I want to divide 84 by 4. So what I need to do is partition 84 into 2 part models to know what to divide each number by, okay? So just pause the video and have a go at partitioning 84 And if you're confident with that, you can then divide those part models by 4 to get your answer. And remember to add the 2 answers at the end together to get our product, okay? Or our quotient. So pause the video and have a go at this calculation now and see if you remember how to do it. And then I will model how we do it all together. Okay, so firstly, you should have partitioned the number 84 into 80 and 4. And now we need to divide each of these numbers by 4 to try and get our answer. So firstly, 80 divided by 4 equals 20. And 4 divided by 4 equals 1. Okay, and remember we now need to add these 2 numbers together to get our quotient, our final answer. So 20 add 1 is 21. So we now know 84 divided by 4 equals 21, and we did this by using partitioning. Okay, so well done if you remembered how to use the partitioning method. Okay, Year 5, so now we've gone through that one together, I've got another one for you on the screen to have a go at in your maths book. So 96 divided by 3, and I want you to use the partitioning method to help you find your quotient. Okay, so firstly check that you've partitioned 96 correctly. So you've got 90 and 6, okay? And then you need to divide each part model by 3. So 90 divided by 3 equals 30, and 6 divided by 3 equals 2. And remember, just like we did before, we now need to add these 2 numbers together, which gets us 32. So now we need to do our STEM sentence. So 96 divided by 3 equals 32. I know this because I've partitioned 96 into 90 and 6 and divided each part model by 3, added the answers together and got 32. Okay, before we move on to the worksheet, I have a bit of a problem for you to think about. Jamie says 42 is not divisible by 6 because there are not enough counters to share into equal groups. Why do you think Jamie is wrong, and what could he do about this? And you might want to think about our vocabulary at the start of the lesson to help you. What does he need to do to solve this problem, this calculation? So pause the video and think about what Jamie could do with these counters to make 42 divisible by 6. Okay, so what I need to do now is exchange these 4 10s for 41s, okay, because 4 10s is 40, and that would be 41s. And then once I've got my 41s, I can see if I can divide them equally into 6 groups with these 2 counters as well. So I'd have 42 ones, and then I can divide them between 6 equal groups and see if that works instead. So I'm just going to pause the video and change these into 41s, and then we'll see if they can go into 6 equal groups. Okay, so here I've exchanged my 4 10s and my 2 1s for 42 1s. And then what I've done is divided them into equal groups between these 6 rows. So I've got 6 equal groups. And now let's see how many 1s are in one row to find our answer. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So now we know 42 divided by 6 is 7. And because we know our family facts, 6 times 7 is 42, we know that 42 is divisible by 6. So you just need to think if you can exchange some 10s for some 1s to make your calculation possible. Okay, so now we've got the step 2 of the worksheet, and you've got some similar questions to complete on your own. So pause the video and complete step 2 of the worksheet in your maths book. Okay, and now if you want a challenge, we're moving on to step 3 of the input. So, Izzy brings 45 marbles to school and wants to share them equally between 5 friends. And what I want you to do is use partitioning to help you solve this problem. So think about what calculation, what division the problem is asking you to do, and then pause the video and complete that using partitioning. So pause the video now. Okay, so you should have partitioned 45 into 40 and then 5. And what you need to do is divide each part model by 5, and then we'll have a look at what the answer will be. So 40 divided by 5 is 8, 5 divided by 5 is 1, and then as always you need to remember to add these two numbers together to get our quotient, our answer, which is 9. And now we know that 45 divided by 5 is 9. So to solve our problem, each friend will have 9 marbles. I know this because 45 divided by 5 is 9. Well done everyone if you got that correct. And if you didn't, have a look at where you made your mistake. Okay, and if you fancy a challenge, here is step 3 of the worksheet. And I've got the extension on the screen for you as well if you fancy having a go at that. So pause the video to complete step 3 and the extension. Okay, and here on the screen now we have our step 1 answers. So pause the video to mark your work in your book. On the screen now I have the step 2 answers, so pause the video to mark your work. On the screen now I have the answers for step 3 and the extension, so pause the video to mark your work. Once you finish all of your marking, could you please write a learning comment in your book? If you have a purple pen, that is great, but don't worry if not. Okay, well done Year 5 for all your hard work this morning. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day and I'll see you again soon. Bye.